Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to your Lunch Break Live. My name is Ivana Hurin-Q if you're new here, and if you're not, thank you for coming back. Today is Wednesday, February the 16th, and today we're talking about something that is happening tomorrow, or is expected to happen tomorrow, and that is the possibility of severe weather across Alabama. Now, we have more reporting on this from our weather reporter, Lee Morgan. You can find all of that reporting on AL.com/weather or on the AL.com homepage, but today I thought that it would be helpful to take some of those maps that Lee has used in her reporting, many from the National Weather Service, and break them down with you and tell you about which counties should expect what, when, and what else we know. So if you have a question about your specific county or area, please let me know. I've got my phone here. I'm going to be looking down and looking at the comments there and trying to get you that information that you're looking for. So first, let's talk about this map right here. Now, this map is something that I want to talk about first before we go into anything else. And that is because this is about wind advisories. Now, we know that meteorologists have said one of the main risks for tomorrow is severe winds. Our meteorologists have said, from the National Weather Service as well, have said that wind gusts up to 60 miles an hour could be possible across the state. That's why this map here is important. Now, the counties in brown show where there is a wind advisory. So you can look at this map and kind of get a quick look at where your county is, what area of the state you are located in, and if that area is under a wind advisory. Easy enough to say that most of the state here is brown, meaning they're under that wind advisory. Now, a few counties are exempt, including kind of that lower part of the Black Belt, the Wiregrass, and the coastal Alabama region there. Those are the few counties, the few parts of the state that are not under a wind advisory. Now, we know the National Weather Service and NOAA are closely monitoring that region, and they will put in an advisory if they think it's necessary as the forecast changes throughout the day. I'll bring this back up here in a few minutes, but again, this just kind of can start us off because wind is something that forecasters say could be the biggest worry tomorrow, and that is Thursday, again, that we are talking about this weather coming in. So I want to move on to another map here that we have, and this map really shows the outlook for tomorrow's weather. You can kind of see the outlook across the entire state here. And first, we should probably talk about the colors here. Now, the yellow color here is something that shows the parts of Alabama that are level 2 out of 5. Now, that means that those places are under a slight risk. So 5 being the worst, 1 being the most ideal situation. So again, the areas in yellow are at a slight risk, a level 2 out of 5. What the National Weather Service says is that means scattered severe storms, will be possible. Again, scattered severe storms will be possible in that region. So that's the part of the state that needs to be on probably higher alert tomorrow. Now, the rest of Alabama that's in this kind of middle green color, there's 2 color greens here, but that middle green color is a marginal risk or level 1. What that means is that part of Alabama has a marginal risk for severe weather. So meaning isolated severe storms. The difference here in that level is scattered for level 2 and isolated for level 1. This is a broad overview map. Again, you can see that northern part of the state, that northwest part of the state, and even central west part of the state is in more of the high risk area, being level 2 out of 5. So nothing above level 2 here that we're seeing right now. Again, that can always change, but right now that is what we're seeing for the state. Now, looking through your comments here, looking at some people asking about the Shoals area. So you can see that is the area that is in that level 2 risk, that North Alabama, Florence, Decatur, Huntsville, that region in level 2, which means a slight risk for scattered severe storms. Keep in mind, the wind, again, is something that the National Weather Service is really saying could be a problem tomorrow. Now, something I want to also kind of move to is something that the Weather Service in Huntsville said this morning. They said the most widespread impact tomorrow could be non-thunderstorm related wind gusts from the south that were around the 35-45 miles an hour. Most people will see some rain, some people will see some thunderstorms, and a few people may see severe wind gusts. But again, do not think that you are in the clear because you're not in the yellow. You could still get that wind gust coming in. I can pull back up that wind advisory map so you can see kind of where you are in that region. But wind is something that the forecasters say will come in even earlier on Thursday before the storms even come in. So wind is something that we expect to see in the morning, probably even in the early morning hours through the mid-morning, and those storms are going to start coming in the early afternoon, last again throughout the evening, make their way through Alabama throughout the evening. So let's pull up a timing map to talk a little bit about that. So this is a timing map here. You can see this map is from the National Weather Service and from NOAA, and it runs through 2 p.m. on Thursday through 4 a.m. Friday. So think late tomorrow afternoon, early to late tomorrow afternoon through early morning Friday. So it's kind of an overnight map there. So you can see here again, yellow being that level 2 risk, green being that level 1 risk. 1 is the lowest, 5 is the highest here. So you can see kind of the area where you are located, at least in that kind of central Alabama region, and what time that part of the state is looking to see the most severe weather for tomorrow. Now, you can see those, if your county is not in this little splice of the map that was taken for this graphic, you can follow those little white dotted lines and kind of envision those across the state. And that's the way that those timing lines follow. So hopefully that helps if you do not see your area here on this map. Now, again, the one part of the state that does not have these severe weather and these wind advisories in effect is South Alabama. At least not yet. That doesn't mean that they couldn't come. The Weather Service there in Mobile expects strong south to southeast winds to affect South Alabama on Thursday. Could have storms there up with gusts up to 35 miles an hour, and also a wind advisory could be issued later if trends continue. Right now, though, they are not in that wind advisory. I'm getting some comments saying, that the National Weather Service could update these maps, and that's absolutely true. They could update these maps. They could even update them tomorrow, and we could really be looking at something different tomorrow. But this is what we've got now, so this is the information that we are trying to get out at this point. Understand, again, this could change, but this is what we've got at the moment. So let's go over some counties here. I know everybody wants to know what's going to happen where I live. Again, those things are changing. We know the National Weather Service could shift and could change those maps a little bit, but this is what we know now. I'm going to pull up another map here in just a second. I don't want to give you whiplash for moving too many maps there. So let's talk about counties. Let's talk about North Alabama first. So I'm looking at my notes here, make sure I get these right. Lauderdale, Colbert, Franklin, Lawrence, Limestone, Madison, Morgan, Marshall, Jackson, DeKalb, and Coleman counties. Those are the counties that you can see in this map that are under a wind advisory. Central Alabama, that's what these brown counties are, is that wind advisory. So let's move to Central Alabama. We're looking at Marion, Lamar, Fayette, Winston, Walker, Blount, Etowah, Calhoun, Cherokee, Cleburne, Pickens, Tuscaloosa, Jefferson, Shelby, St. Clair, Talladega, Clay, Randolph, Sumter, Greene, Hale, Perry, Bibb, Chilton, Coosa, Tallapoosa, Chambers, Marengo, Dallas, Autauga, Lowndes, Elmore, Montgomery, Macon, Bullock, Lee, Russell, Pike, and Barber. Pretty much all of Central Alabama, right? You can see, again, this map leaves just a few counties out in that white region, meaning that they don't have the wind advisory. Again, that's kind of that lower part of the Black Belt, the Wiregrass, and the coastal Alabama regions. That means they don't have a wind advisory. That doesn't mean it's not going to be windy there. Let's, make sure that we keep that in mind. I'm going to pull up another map here. This one is going to show you an area of those storms. So we're going to shift a little bit from talking about wind to talking about storms. Storms are more likely, according to forecasters, according to the Weather Service, in that North Alabama region. Now, this part of this map, I should say, doesn't really specifically say northeast, northwest. It really has that whole northern splice of the state in this outlook. You can see this, and if you can't read this, I apologize. This is in our story. If you can't read it on the screen, you can zoom in on the story that we have on AL.com, but I'll read it out for you. So you can see that this yellow, again, that means it's in the slight risk category, 2 out of 5. And this means that a line of strong to severe thunderstorms are possible ahead of a cold front coming into the region. This again is for Thursday afternoon and Thursday evening. Now, this is all of northern Alabama. It's not a northwest, northeast kind of situation. All of northern Alabama and even southern middle Tennessee there. You can see the top of the state line and how this warning extends a little bit up from the state line. What are we looking for here? Weather hazards. We're looking for gusty to damaging winds, and even a tornado or two could be possible. You combine these storms ahead of that cold front with that wind that we're worried about, and that is what we're looking at there. Now, again, this is a level 2 out of 5, more of the state also in a level 1 out of 5. So we're not looking, at least at this point, at anything above that level, but that doesn't mean it can't be damaging. Now, these wind gusts, we talk about wind gusts could be up to 60 miles an hour, heavy rain, tornado or two possible with those strongest storms. And sometimes it's hard to look at that number, to hear that number and think, well, what exactly does that mean, miles an hour? It's not something that most of us kind of can measure, right? Or we can't really go outside and say, this wind feels like 10 miles an hour or anything and have anything like that, really. So what we do know is that winds are going to increase in Alabama today, again, being very windy tomorrow, and wind gusts that are up to 40 miles an hour, 50 miles an hour higher, that's tropical storm strength winds. So again, I know that sometimes we talk about these winds and it's hard to imagine what that number actually feels like. But 40 to 50 mile an hour winds are tropical storm strength winds. They can bring down trees. They can bring down power lines and tree limbs. Again, those tree limbs, we know those power lines can also fall onto mobile homes, houses, cars, etc. So that's the danger there about wind. That's why we're talking about it, and that is why it is important. Something that I will reiterate again, National Weather Service could change these maps. These maps are something that I believe were pulled earlier Wednesday morning. So a little bit more than 24 hours ahead of time, they could change there. I will give you another look at that timing map because I know that is something that everybody always wants to know. What time is it going to hit me? So you can see that eastern part of the state looking from a early afternoon to a evening type storm, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. That more central part of the state, kind of that middle part. Now, the interesting thing here is we're not talking about top, middle, and bottom, right? We're talking about left, middle, and right. But that middle part of the state, looking at a 5 p.m. to midnight Friday time frame, and that far eastern part of the state towards that Lee, Russell County area, that is in that 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. region there. Now you can see it gets later. The more that it goes to the east, the later that your time period gets there. So again, this is something that we have pulled this morning. This shows 2 p.m. Thursday through 4 a.m. Friday, the outlook there. You can find all of this information on AL.com. If you are looking for specific weather-related information, know that you can always find that on AL.com/weather. Our weather reporter, Lee Morgan, is going to keep you up to date on this. And when she gets updated maps, she will post those updated maps on AL.com. Again, if you specifically are looking for weather coverage, go to AL.com-weather. All of your weather stories will pop up right in that feed, and you don't have to search for it there. So we will have those throughout the day as National Weather Service updates its information, and Lee will keep you updated there. We'll also keep you updated on our social channels as well. Again, this is one last look at that wind advisory map. Pretty much everybody is in a wind advisory. Should be cautious about that wind tomorrow. South Alabama has not been included in that advisory. That doesn't mean that strong winds are not expected there. Just means it didn't quite meet the criteria yet for a wind advisory. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for tuning in to AL.com for your weather coverage. Again, we'll keep you updated on that online, and we will see you tomorrow as well. Be safe.